And we are live. Welcome to season 1 of Quantum Rebel Visionary Voices Unleashed. And we have the absolute honor to literally activate this season with our amazing visionary guest, Laura Gerrits. Laura is unmistakably the world's leading voice for evolutionary transformation of the old hierarchical business structures. And together with her team, she is unfolding a new holistic human business and leadership paradigm, so needed in today's world. It's an evolutionary concept for CEOs and boardrooms to grow their enterprises as seamless holistic systems without the stifled structures, outdated KPIs, and costly silo inefficiencies that slow you down with these old structures. And since 2012, she's led and worked with Scandinavian, Northern European, Middle Eastern CEOs, more than 40 plus industries, transforming these old silo based structures into holistic enterprises. I'm going to continue introducing her when we get in because I was so honored that I could feature in my book, Quantum Rebel. So I'll read a little bit about that. But before I welcome our extraordinary guest on today, I just wanted to let you know where you're at because this is an intentional space where we're co-creating. And this is not just a conversation, it's an activation, a portal into new paradigms and bold truths and embodied transformation. We're not just talking about it, we're actually living it, doing it, embodying it. And with that, let's take it away.
Welcome to Quantum Rebel Visionary Voices Unleashed, a sacred transmission for a world that's not just remembering, but reimagining and co creating what's next. This isn't just a podcast, it's a portal, a frequency, a call into the next evolution of leadership. Not the kind that conquers or controls, but the kind that co creates. We're not here to choose profit or purpose, success or sustainability, achievement or balance. We're here to bridge the false divide and shape the future through frequency, not force. Led by visionaries, quantum rebels to be precise, who lead from essence, transmit from quantum intelligence, and magnetize from their soul-aligned core. This is how we build our quantum empires, not from ego, but from essence, not to dominate, but to co-create. We allow wealth to flow through us as a sacred conduit for expansion, harmony, and elevation for all. I'm your host, Chindia Ilonka, founder and visionary catalyst of Quantum Rebel and the Quantum Empire Mastermind, igniting a new era of embodied soul-led leadership, intuitive mastery, and legacy-level impact. And while once we walked alone, the tides have turned like starling birds in synchrony, elephant herds remembering ancient paths, dolphin pods moving through flow, and wolf packs leading through deep intuitive resonance. We rise together. The era of the lone visionary is over. This is the rise of the Quantum Rebel Collective. You're not here by chance. You're here because your voice carries the quantum codes for a newly emerging, sustainable, thriving world. Let's begin.
Laura, it is such an honor to have you here. The words already said it, and I wanted to continue introducing you shortly because it was such an honor to be able to feature you in our book. Because as we said backstage, I don't know anybody else that is transforming at such a deep level in one of the most, I find, the most consequential spaces, which is business, because it reaches everybody's lives, whether you're a leader or you're showing up in somebody's business. And that's why you inspire me so much. So you showed up in two places. This one is chapter 15, which is quantum execution, the 7 key principles. And here I said, visionary co-founder Laura Gerrits is a trailblazer in the field of holistic business transformation. Her pioneering work is shifting classical management while crafting the holistic business legacy, leading the way in transforming hierarchical business structures into new holistic business paradigms that empower CEOs to develop their enterprises into seamless holistic systems. This future-oriented holistic management approach lays a solid foundations for generations to come. Laura, I am so excited that I can share the stage with you here today. Tell us, I think one thing that inspires me is your vision. You have an amazing vision. Maybe that's a good place for us to start because that will weave into your big why.
Let's try to uncover that vision and how it was born. So my vision is to reach over 1 million human souls in wearing leadership hat in the world and co-create alternative ways to grow our ecosystems, whether we call them business, whether we call them company, profit, non-profit, it fits to everyone. But what I mean, um, holistic business approach, it is that we are saying goodbye to growth at any cost, meaning that at some point in life, we probably all achieved everything, but at some point lost our soul. And that's the completely different approach. Let's just say revolutionary approach where we are shifting all of the system conditions, hierarchy leading from the top, going into leading from the center, thinking purpose, profit, people, planet, soul, without silos, as you mentioned, all of these efficiency driven key performance indicators that every time you are being asked, you feel as you want to defend because there is internal conflict within you. At least that's what a lot of us experience. So that's my vision, and I really believe that I've been placed in this world to do it. I don't know where exactly how it came to me, honestly, but more or less I was downloading it from the very young age. That I grew up in Soviet Union. My parents were workers, mom and dad, manufacturing companies, and we didn't have a lot living in the closed Soviet Union, right? And I vividly remember me sitting in the kind of playground in between those big block buildings where my friends were playing, and I would be sitting on a bench and thinking, what is outside this block building? What's outside in this world, which I don't know? And there was this some kind of voice within me that was and still till today leads me.
That is so inspiring because I always get asked that question, Ilonka, how did you get to do what you're doing now? Because if I look back, I knew and I didn't know. Like you say, I'm very young. I always knew I was different. I looked at the world differently. But then I went into the real world. And, if you had asked me then, Ilonka, is this what you'll be doing? I probably would have looked at you and thought you were crazy. And I love talking to you because a lot of times we think, oh, there's only these great people with these amazing families and histories that are here to change the world. And I say, no, maybe it used to be like that in the old world. But today, it is time for all our visionary voices to be unleashed. And I find that the work and the experiences we had have been preparation. So I'd love to hear how that was for you. If there were any places, key moments, shifts that you said, okay, this is it. This is where I'm going for?
I do remember the moment when I was 13 years old, and my country, Lithuania, we fighted for our independence. We got our freedom. And both of my parents lost their job because of the Islamic economic collapse. Some of the factories been closing down. My mom started working in a hospital, like bringing food, and serving breakfast and lunches to the patients. And she would be bringing bread and butter home simply because it was a moment there was nothing in the grocery shop. We didn't yet have like proper sustainable currency. And I was eating that bread, I don't know, for breakfast and lunch and dinner with honey or with butter. And there was this voice coming out of the blue saying that your kids are not going to live like that. You deserve to create something better for them. And that was that kind of instilled some kind of drive within me, or hunger, where I started to learn English. I was studying German, and I've really been moving with the speed of the light. And fast forward, I started working, or moved to Copenhagen and lived in Denmark for 10 plus years. And after my graduation from Copenhagen Business School, as probably every student, as a young, we try to find a good job, and it takes a while, right? Because you are young and skillful, and it happened again, so that I was neglected by a lot of companies, and I thought, all right, well, if you don't need me, I need myself. Let's try to figure out what I can do in this world. So that's how I started my first manufacturing business. And at the age of 24, I was leading a company. We're producing clothes for various designers. And again, a new lesson. 4 years, we lived very well. The first million, driving a new car, working crazy many hours. Lost my first marriage due to that. Been not sleeping well and always questioning myself. Can I pay my 100 employees on time? Can I take orders in, making sure that I can deliver promises? And I was just simply curating that business without, much knowing, only with a theoretical background. And what happened that I hired leaders to work and ease my burden. And I created key performance indicators. So I started to create an organizational structure because these people were kind of expensive, right? And I really wanted to make sure that they understand their role. And it's only now really funny to look at young Laura trying to instill responsibility from adult people. But anyway, those key performance indicators and my need to kind of control from this inner lack nearly collapsed my baby company because we were literally blindfolded by data and decisions which we were making as separate teams and individuals and not seeing the whole perspective. And that's when I learned that in a hard way. Theoretically, we were bankrupting, and I was borrowing money from my mother to be able to kind of cover that gap. Cash flow. This is where the curiosity to understand how can any founder, as I was in those shoes, grow the company by seeing the whole and not experiencing burnout, leading from certainty rather than from lack or fear. And back then, I didn't know anything about systems thinking or nothing. So again, another kind of dot leading to where I am was that I sold this company and went to work for the in a Scandinavian bank as one of the leaders. And very soon, like within the first week, I understood that they are having this thing, as I experienced in my manufacturing company. It's just that their service are far more bigger. And this is where I said, that's my playground.
But I love what you say, Laura, because I write about this. This is shift 4 or 5. Sometimes I forget my own shifts, but it's consciously reframe, because what I hear you say is that through the loss, which is, I mean, that is, I've been there too, and many of us have, but many of us have been conditioned that you don't talk about that because that immediately you're a failure. But what I found, and that what we know now, is that it's preparation. It's through that loss. And when we learn to consciously reframe that through that loss, you learned and became a portal, or more a conduit to this wisdom of creating these life-giving KPIs, which I love, which is leads us to what you're working on now. I love when you say the old KPIs are dead, So, but I think there's a lot of value in there. What Before we get into that part, is that I think it's very relevant today because there's so much loss going on. People are losing their jobs. There's uncertainty, and we can look at it two ways. We can either get totally stressed, frustrated, and it won't change whatever's happening. But what I hear you also say, and that has been my story, that's why I ended up writing the book, is that when you consciously reframe that, now you start being at a different vibrational state, where even though there's chaos happening in your life, you're still choosing to be in balance, choosing to be grateful, choosing to go walk in the beach. I always, when I get your I know you paint, and in social media sometimes see you walking on the beach, and in times that I couldn't go, I get peace and rest just watching you walk with the dogs. But it seems like nothing, but it's so key to us being what I call at our highest love. So thank you for sharing that and being so open and vulnerable about that, because I had the same thing. One of the people that read my book before I published it, she said, Ilonka, oh my gosh, I can't believe that you're being so vulnerable. And I said, well, if we're not, then how can we help lift somebody else up with our story? Then our story has been for nothing, So I love the dimension you bring. And that brings us to a good bridge in those KPIs. Tell us about that, Laura, that the old KPIs are dead.
Okay. I guess it was also when I worked in a bank where we've been introduced to a big international company of consultants, McKinsey's. Back then, yet, what probably in Europe spoke about lean or to your production system as such. And they created a training for leaders. We've been pulled out into this 2 days trainings in Riga in a nice hotel. And here they are presenting a whiteboard where all key performance indicators are set up, identified, decided by someone. And I remember I was still like 28 years old or something, listening to the training, and internally I was rebelling. I thought, it can't be true. No, it can't be true. And I was trying to understand what I could do with that. So what happened was that we didn't follow the app, and with the entire team, we literally been sitting down and trying to understand what is the value we are here to create for families that are in the bank, for kids, for singles. Just really having a talk and understanding what is that impact of purpose or value we're here for, what drives us, and how can we measure that? And it was so simple to the core that suddenly everyone got engaged and was really delivering fantastic results in my branch. And once I stepped out from the banking company to work as a hands-on consultant, that's what I saw in all of the even big or small companies, there's these metrics killing our soul and really silencing, and people are like, we get frozen every time they pick up during the meeting of kind of that performance indicator. And I was thinking, like, why is that? We are kind of designing it in this way, even though we want completely different. As humans, we want to be motivated. We want to be able to feel free, right? We want to be not just accepted. So how can we create a measure? Because we still, our still linear mind wants to have the sense of the business, and that's totally fine. We need profit for impact and other things. But how can we create those key performance indicators that are completely different? And now, to make my story short or summarize, well, I came up with this four KPIs called keep purpose intentional, keep profit increased, keep people involved, and of course, keep planet improved. And all of that can be done when I'm stepping in and leading from center of my soul. That's the only way. And that's the only initiative which I am curating with the Holistic Business University.
I love that. I write about that in the book. It is time now to set your soul free. And I say, it's not dogmatic, it's not religious. You can keep your religion, you can keep your beliefs, but all of us, we're part of this greater whole of this quantum universe. And once we start, not only recognizing, but being courageous enough to step into the uncomfortable spaces, and I that's the next thing. I'd be very great to talk to you about that. A lot of time, at least for me, like when I published my first poem bundle, I was like, oh, I'm ready now, to go into the world with all this wisdom. And then it took me 13 years because I wasn't yet the person that could hold this wisdom and literally show up in places and really be who I am without watering it down. And that's what a lot of us still do because we unfortunately not yet have, it's not the standard yet. With what you're bringing into the world, it's more and more businesses are opening up to this more elevated business structures. But many of us are still showing up in toxic cultures where it's only about the bottom line, and the people who make the business great don't have a voice. It's like they're transactional. They're like just a piece in the puzzle instead of that they're a human, a body, soul, mind, and heart. So I find that very powerful how you now also have put it in a framework that makes it easier easier. It fits in a business structure. But I'd like to go in that. How has it been for you showing up in these are spaces that before the show, I said that to you. I don't know anyone that is transforming at that deepest depth and making the impact that you're making. So I would love for you to kind of talk about that because that will inspire other CEOs, other boardrooms to really see the value. It's one of the things I say is that inspiration is a strategic edge. It's not something woo-woo, especially now we want to just label everything woke and this and that, but it's so deep. It's who we are as human beings. And when we're inspired, we're like that, if it's our own business or it's a business that we believe in and that believes in us. So I'd love for you to unpack your experience in that.
All right. Where should I start?
That's a big question.
It's a good one, Ilonka. It is, I'm thriving every minute. And if I would be sitting here and say, that I have all figured it out and I have all the systems in place and I have a huge waiting list that I can step into to work with, it wouldn't be true. I think to me, when it comes to kind of my own integrity or soul, quite often, especially in the last 2 years, ask myself, how would my soul behave in this situation? Even though I look at my cash flow of the university and I see that in a couple of months, I'm running out of money if I'm not taking, for example, some contract. But I think when it comes to human relationship and you being or not selling it when you wanna unfold your purpose. The customer comes in, our client comes in, company comes in, and then they say, Laura, we want OKRs. Well, they're hooked to the methodology, right? I heard it somewhere, or they say we need to create a strategy and we need to deploy it so everyone understands where we are going, why we are going there. It's the right intention. So I do try to understand what is it we want and vision, and then always kind of frame that it's going to be a dance together. And I'm not going to withhold any of reflections which I see in you as the CEO. And please do not withhold anything that you see in me. If we're suddenly kind of standing in our own way of what we want, our own way of growth. So I guess kind of be rooted in that integrity. I even have the feeling in my body when something goes wrong. I have that feeling before I can voice it over. It's either I can't eat anymore because there is this conflict somewhere, or I just don't want to do anything for, let's say, that customer. So I begin to come up with million ways to not sign a contract with them. So I guess, uh, yeah, being brave enough to not lie to yourself. And even though I wasn't that either, when it comes to other things, like not the part choosing the customers, but other parts in my life. But asking yourself, how would your soul behave now? That's the question which was helping me.
That's deep, Laura. That's deep. And I know sometimes we tend to be a little bit shy about ourselves, but I want you to talk about the world record initiative that you all did, because I followed it and I listened to the CEOs whose lives and businesses you've touched. And I just, you couldn't not be inspired. So you are definitely causing ripples in the field, and sometimes we don't know exactly how and where it opens up, but that is it's a beautiful KPI in a way, showing the strength of once you get through that door that people don't understand, and people like, you know, soul and business and structures. What? You know, once you get through that, and people, I find too that the right people will know, the right CEOs will be attracted to it, and then it's like the water ripple. That's why I talk too about we're really now in a phase, I believe, of our humanity where once we were doing things alone, now that we come together, we amplify each other's voices so that together you get this, like you have in nature, this beautiful soul intelligence that we don't fully understand, that is just causing immense amplification. So tell us a little bit about that, the World Record Initiative that you and your team did. It was really inspiring watching you have these conversations and actually listening to the CEOs of these big companies too, really implementing and having value of what you bring.
Okay. Yeah, it was, again, one of these voices. When walking with my dog in nature, I thought, as kind of a single mom, I can't travel a lot. And I actually would rather choose to live where I am and be surrounded by nature. And I was still thinking, what is one way to reach those souls, as you say, the ones that would respond? And I was thinking, what would that give me? I needed validation. At that point, I really needed validation that that my mission I feel pulled into is needed in the world. And I thought if I have the desire to create that vision, there should be people who read that. So I thought a world record, where we could invite founders, CEOs to share with us how their company is making the world better off and what type of different management practices, individual leadership practices they do when growth at any cost is in, where they are about to sell their soul to that crown of evil. That was I was and with my partner back then, Will. So that's what we do. We've been interviewing 52 CEOs worldwide without any fancy entrance and without creating like podcasts, a really raw connection with those leaders. I didn't know most of them. And that gave me such a comfort that there are people, and of course there are. Each of us, we want a different workplace. And our soul is a yearning for it. It's just maybe not all of us are raising the hand or we don't know how to express it. Thousands of reasons. But the world record was kind of my my proof that my mission is needed.
Yeah. And now that you say the proof, what I really valued about what you do is that you are really looking to track the data. So you're not just doing this stuff and just, you are actually tracking the data so that you can show with data the effects that these more organic, more soul aligned systems and structures that just recognize the whole human. That's why I say it's not about, profit is very important. It's just it's a more expansive and that we can talk about profit and purpose. And actually that when we do that, the one, it amplifies each other. So maybe you can, as a way of kind of putting a cap onto it, because that, I think that is very powerful too for those that may not be fully like, okay, what is this? That your intention is to really continue finding the data to show that these things really make a difference. It's not just talk.
No, and with my mission, I always been saying that I have this mission to create a lot of co-create case studies, meaning stories that are provable, not only in the experience, but also mentioning in the outcomes. So with the world record, we were asking the specific question, I'm still gathering data now for the book. It is so what, as I mentioned, what practices do you do as a leader at the moment where you feel that you are by shareholders to make a decision that is not integral with you. And I really wanted them to share, practices that they would not normally share with anyone else. And that's kind of the data I was looking more for than the bottom line data and other things. Because I thought normally business books don't speak about that literally phase, period. In every founder's or leader's life, they when they we are pressured a lot, right, in this old paradigm to deliver fast profit, and of course we do need it. But then the question is how we capture ourselves, where our awareness is, and what do we do with it? So what they were sharing was profound, Ilonka. Some CEOs, male CEOs, they were sharing that they are driving out to hug, like literally, they drive out from the office and they have a specific tree where they hug that tree. Others, they were sharing that they are, walking, of course, that they're meditating, they are talking with themselves. There's so many brilliant, soulful, driven behaviors that was another proof to me that it's not only purpose, profit, people, and planet who needs to sit around the table. Your soul has the center table, and that's what data which we've shared as leaders in those interviews.
That is amazingly powerful because that's how, when you have the data and you're actually doing this in a way that is so structured, as much as structure can become, I talk about it being, it's structure and it's their logic and inspiration, because we need both. And if you just do one or the other, you're just gonna, in one place you're just kind of flying around, and in the other place you're missing out on the expansiveness of what life can offer you and your business. So what I love is that you are actually, through these, really the almost a scientific approach that you bring into your way of doing business, that really elevates this whole space that you are actually innovating in. So it totally resonates with the introduction, Laura. You are a true trailblazer, and to me, an absolute quantum rebel DNA. And I fully believe, and that is the whole purpose behind this show, is to amplify more voices. Because when we come together, that builds strength. Because then it's the light that then shines from that lighthouse becomes stronger, and people can find you, can find me, can find us. And it shifts that whole scarcity based mentality where we're like, oh my goodness, I can't hand the client over to Laura because then I'll miss out on something. No, I'll get it back, 1,000-fold in ways that I may not know. And that's that whole shift. And it's an honor. I'm so excited that we got to talk about this stuff, because it is so important, especially in this day and age that we're in, which are very trying times. So, on that note, what are some words of wisdom that you would like to share with the CEO that may be listening now, or maybe they'll be listening later? Somebody that is thinking about starting their own business. What are some words of wisdom that you would share with them, Laura?
I probably would want to share with all of the humanity, despite what titles we have, or where we live and what we do. I honestly believe that there is a cause why each of us are here. And even though there might be moments where we can't put it in any logical explanation why we are in certain relationship or in certain company for that sake. Um, but go inward, really go inward. That voice, it's there. Your voice, your soul's voice, whatever you call it, but it's there. When you're less distractions we have from around, you're loud, and you're more you can lean into that. And then, the rest gonna tell you.
That is very beautiful, Laura. And I would add to that too is, like, I've been blessed to be for a couple of years in the island of Aruba, which is my mom's birthplace. And so we have ocean all around us. But many of the locals they don't see it. Some haven't been there for a year or something. And I always say nature, and to kind of amplify what you're saying, to meditate, to hug that tree. Nature is like free medicine to our soul. It just puts you back into that highest level of resonance, whatever is happening around you. And those of us that are not near an ocean or a beautiful woods, a walk in the park without the noise, because a lot of our modern world, we take that noise with us in the nature, in this place. So I second what you say there, is find that stillness within. And it's easier than we think when we re-immerse ourselves with the gift that nature gave us. So thank you, Laura. And I want to say this is not the end. We have a backstage, a VIP backstage that we invite all our listeners, our guests to come so that we can have a more intimate space that we can go deeper. And it's curated, it's complementary, but it's curated. So make sure that we preserve the integrity of the space, the high vibrational. So next time, sign up for that so that you join us backstage. And you have some things coming up. Do you want to quickly?
Yeah, I could share with anyone who would like to experience. I'm rolling out this global entry initiative every month, a couple of times every month live for any human leader, CEO who wants to see, as you mentioned, that structure, linear and non-linear can coexist, and how key performance indicators can be created so it gives this healthy control for the system that also is freeing your soul and your people to take more responsibility and accountability. So yes, thank you, Ilonka.
That's amazing. This is the wave of the future, And what I love, it's integrating the wholeness of who we are, the left logical brain, but also that more expansive right brain that is so creative and that just wants to come out. And I love how you're in this very important space of business, are creating and co-creating and bringing this transformative innovation so that we can have different ecosystems where our people can also feel honored. So it's not just about the leaders. You now create a ripple effect for families, for children growing up in with parents that are not totally stressed out, and so it has an unbelievable generational effect on our humanity. So on that note, thank you, Laura.
Thank
We're
you,
going to go
Ilonka.
backstage. I do want to give a little shout out, or maybe a big shout out, to USA Global TV and Radio, the founder, Jacqueline Kerbeck. She's been amazing. She has the highest level of quality that they put onto their streaming TV and radio network, and we partner up with them. So they're helping to spread the word. It's been amazing working with her and her team. And then I also want to do a shout out to Cohere. I have been on a mission looking, because community to me is the center, because that's where we meet each other, soul to soul, heart to heart. And this is a platform, a holistic platform for conscious creators, coaches, healers, teachers to market, sell, and deliver your services. And I'm still working the kinks out on mine because it's still a learning curve, but they've been amazing. So I just want to do a shout out to them also. And with that, thank you to all the listeners. If there were any glitches, forgive us. It was the first time. Laura, we did it. I'd love to hear from the listeners either now or later. Let us know what stirred in you. And we'd love to take that with us. And on that note, we say until next time.
You've been listening to Quantum Rebel Visionary Voices Unleashed. These are the voices re-architecting what's next, not through hustle, but through harmony, not through domination, but through sacred resonance. If your soul whispered yes, you already belong. Subscribe, share, return each week. And if you feel the resonance, come backstage with us in the Quantum Rebel VIP Lounge immediately following the show. Because this isn't just a podcast. It's the uprising of a new era, the quantum era of light. And together, we're shaping a luminous, awakened future from the inside out. Let's breathe that in, feel the shift, and remember, you were born for this.